Oh, we're live. All right. Let's do this.
I mean, maybe listen just in case. Get it? The docket is gold. My pockets are swole. Stop, drop, and roll. I lock on the gold. It doesn't get old. Each episode, I just download. I'm just a fella that's hella intelligent. Now that I got me the code, build me a yellow brick road. Hey, chillin', feelin'. How could I be this gifted? Millions, reelin'. Frying up all of these fish sticks into all these competitions. I ain't seen no competition. Justice served can't stop the system. I suggest y'all stop and listen. Please rise, sit down. Party's in session, get rich now. Invest in the best, yes. The investigator is nothing but fresh. Please rise, sit down. Party's in session, get rich now. Go by the book, yeah. The lawyer is loyal, now come take a look. Go.
Okay, let's go. Welcome to the DFS Docket on sportsradiodetroit.com, sidelinescript.com, and apparently, possibly, maybe on YouTube and YouTube Live. Abe, the DFS detective, Josh Faber here with you again for week 8. Josh, we're doing this. I can see you on the computer. We haven't done that before. We are live, so let's not try and screw this one up too much.
We'll try not to, and also we're going to need some feedback to see what people think of seeing our ugly mugs as we do the show.
Yes, because of our – well, here's the thing. See, we have 0 people watching right now, and that's okay because I don't really give a damn. But I don't even know how to send it to people, so we're gonna figure this out as we go.
In fairness to us, I don't know how anybody would know that we are doing the show live currently.
Right. Although if you go on YouTube.com/sideline squib, it's there and it's playing live. I just don't know. I have not even the slightest clue of how to tell people.
We'll try to figure that out.
One day at a time. One day at a time. We're improving what we do. As you know, you can always follow us on Twitter at DFS_Docket. You can follow Sideline Squib at Sideline Squib and Sports Radio DET. Dude, this is so weird. Like we're live. We have the ability to take questions live as we go. So for all you podcast listeners out there, we're planning to record Tuesday evenings. That's the goal. Life sometimes gets in the way, and recently it's been Wednesday evenings. Although if we tried for Thursday, it'd been bad because I'm gonna be at work tomorrow morning at like 7 a.m. and I won't be home till 3 a.m. So I don't know when in the day that would have worked out. Maybe while at work. That would have been, hey, you know what? Let's try that one time. Let's try and do a show while I'm at work one day. That'd be as long as my boss isn't listening, I think we'll be okay with it.
I was going to say, to be totally honest, if we did shows from your office or mine, it could probably be fun for the listeners.
Yeah. Well, this is, it looks like your office. You got a picture of Abraham Lincoln that looks like he's, honestly, Josh, the picture behind you, it looks like it is Abraham Lincoln, obviously, but it looks like we're not allowed to show Abraham Lincoln's face.
There is something else going on in the picture. You have a good eye. You must be a detective. I also, to my left, my right, it's kind of backwards here. To my left, your camera's right, I have this glorious picture of The Rock in front of a cheeseburger. And in case this show gets a little crazy, I got some booze behind me. So we're ready to rock and roll.
I'm already 3 beers deep, bro. That's called having 3 kids and a wife.
I know that's right. Trust me.
There's absolutely no difference around it. Tonight's show, we're going to get to you what we always do. We're going to get you the best possible lineups out there. Now that we have visual, I can show you this award, although if I start flipping my camera around and all that, it can get weird. But I'm going to get that award that my son made us for the best DFS podcast in the world. This way, there's visual proof that it really does exist.
We earned it, and we earned it.
Yes, absolutely. I had him as a son, and therefore I earned it.
And I know you, so I've earned it.
Yeah, absolutely. You've had to deal with me.
Yeah.
And we've been doing this for close to a year at this point. Yeah. So you've dealt with me for that long just on this, and you and I go back a little longer than that. Sure. So we'll give you awards for having to put up with my crap over the last couple of years. Absolutely. Let's get into tonight's headlines if I can find the drop for it, because that'd be cool. As as we start doing this stuff live and figuring all this out, a lot of the stuff's edited after the fact. So I got to learn to be a lot quicker with what I do. Although I'm not very good apparently. Oh, here it is. Let's go to headlines.
Here are tonight's top stories.
So here's the best part about being live is that I forgot to hit the record button. I swear. Well, I guess I'll find out how to figure this stuff out later.
And if we're recording now to fill everybody in, we've been on for about 10 minutes, and we realized we weren't recording.
Yep. How fantastic is that? So let's
jump on in, baby.
Yep. So let's get into our headline.
On the fly.
Yeah, this is. See, I was so, we've been doing this for a while now, and I've been so prepared on like getting all of our equipment right and making sure all of our audio is good and all this and that. And we do something new tonight with the visual and with the live, even though we still don't have anybody watching us, and that just sucks now. Come on, people who don't even know that we're out there. So we're trying all these things, and I'm like playing with it, and that's what my mind is focused on. Like I did my show prep earlier in the day. I'm so focused on getting this stuff right, and I forgot to hit the damn record button. Like what? That's what we do. Tonight's headlines brought to you by Trophy Smack. Go to trophysmack.com. Use the promo code SQUIB. Get that free ring with your championship belt as always. Josh, there's anything major you can think of that happened over the last week or so?
I mean, Lions trading for Everson Griffin. Does that count?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so. I don't even think that does.
No. Even local Detroit sports talk isn't talking about that.
Nothing too major. I mean, what we're going to get this week is our first taste of Tua time. I'm excited to see that. Obviously, I feel bad for the Beard. He played great, and he actually had his team playing at 500, which I don't know that anybody thought at this point in the season the Dolphins would have been at 500. And
do you think he stays with the Dolphins for the rest of the year?
I think so. I think so. I mean, I don't know. A good backup quarterback is valuable in this league, and especially not knowing how healthy Tua can be or how he's going to play. I think they probably keep on to him. It's just so weird how it happened, though, right? Because it wasn't like he got benched and they brought Tua in because Fitzpatrick wasn't playing well. He had an amazing game. They were winning handedly, and they decided, all right, let's get Tua a couple of reps. There's nothing to lose here. Next thing you know, he loses a spot. So, I mean, I feel bad for the guy. He said he was hurt. I understand why. But, I mean, if Tua's ready, let's see what they got. Let's rock and roll.
Yeah, what's most interesting to me, and we could have touched on this last week, and honestly, I forgot about it.
Right.
But what I find most interesting is that Fitzpatrick didn't know about it. Like, it seemed like this was the plan the whole time. At the bye week, unless they're 6-0, 7-0 at the bye week, but at the bye week, they're going to switch it over to Tua.
Right.
And it seemed like everybody in the organization knew except for Ryan Fitzpatrick. Because I don't think he'd come out and shame the Dolphins saying, I had no idea and I'm hurt and all that kind of stuff. I think if he legitimately knew that it was going to be a change, he would have said so.
Yeah, I mean, and I certainly, I mean, from all accounts of everyone who's ever spoken about the guy, class act, he's not, he's obviously a veteran. He's not going to come out there and just start making lies about the team because there's no incentive for that.
Hey, there's somebody. Hey, we got somebody watching. Hi.
Who we got?
I don't know. Oh, they're gone. I don't know.
Who scared them.
They were what? Yeah. That's one of my best traits. Back to Tua. Yes, as you were saying, Ryan Fitzpatrick has no idea that he was leaving the Dolphins.
Yeah, I don't think he knew that he was getting benched. But you know what? The guy's a gamer. The guy's an old vet. He'll get over it.
Yeah. Okay. Here's some real big news. Odell Beckham Jr. torn ACL out for the year. How about that?
Yeah, I mean, not ideal, but I don't know how relevant was he. fantasy wise anyway. I mean, I feel bad for the guy.
I mean, so here's where the fantasy relevance comes to it. I think Odell is still a legitimate wide receiver too, when healthy, obviously. But I think Baker Mayfield, he's really the one that's going to take a big step up without Odell being there. Because I think now, the whole focus was when you have a stud Devo receiver like that, you got to get him the ball. You got to feed him the ball. He threw a touchdown pass to somebody earlier in the year. I don't remember who, but they had him mic'd up, and he goes up to Landry and Odell, and he goes, "I love you guys. You're going to get yours." He knew that he was going to have to focus on getting it to them. So I think without that diva receiver, Baker Mayfield can focus more on, let me just find the open guy. If it's Landry, it's Landry. If it's Rashad Higgins, it's Rashad Higgins. If I got to check down to Kareem Hunt, I'll check down to Kareem Hunt.
Well, for me, that's where I think, where the real fantasy impact is. Because, again, look, Odell Beckham obviously still has ability. You don't have a 40-point game like he did a couple weeks ago without still having the ability. The problem is that he had 0.0 last week. Obviously, he was hurt. The week before that, 4.5. The week before that, 11. The real relevance to me comes where what the opportunities for the other guys. And we'll talk about it when we get to players we like. But, I mean, Higgins, who, for the last couple of years has been a guy that everyone's pointed to as a guy with, all the talent in the world. Just, a couple of off-field issues and obviously buried on the depth chart behind Landry and OBJ. Now he has his time to shine. I mean, you saw what he did last week, 20 points. 6 catches, 6 of 6, catching 6 of the 6 targets for 110 yards. That's pretty outstanding. And I that's a guy that I'm going to look for to be cheap in lineups for the next couple of weeks. Also look at a guy maybe like David Njoku, who's also, kind of got buried on a depth chart, but with Austin Hooper hurt now. David Njoku has a really nice rapport with Baker, and I can easily see Njoku taking a step forward as well. He's a guy that I like going forward with OBJ's targets kind of opening up.
Njoku really scares me, and I love Njoku. But with Austin Hooper out last week, it was all Harrison Bryant. It was like Njoku wasn't even there. And that terrifies me as an Njoku owner in some deep tight end premium leagues where he's the guy that is no longer a viable option when he's not even the number 2 option at the tight end position on his own team.
Right.
I think the only hope for Njoku in any sort of redraft or dynasty or even in the DFS play would be until he gets traded. It's got to be until he gets traded, and really where he goes. If he goes to Philly while Ertz is out, that's a big step up. If he goes to a place like Atlanta, he's still not a guy I would trust going forward.
Not a guy that you can really trust, but I'd like to see some things open up for him, especially as he gets healthier. He's obviously touchdown dependent, but luckily, Baker looks for him in the end zone. He scored last week as well. He's got the touchdown upside, and certainly I think. If Hooper isn't playing this week, he's a low price guy that if you only have a couple dollars left, you might want to get him in your lineup. But speaking of lineups, we're done. I'm done talking. That's enough Cleveland Browns. Like, bro, I know you hate them, and you don't think that pained me to have to just talk about a few Cleveland Browns that I like? I mean, come on, it was tough for me.
It's weird. I mean, look, the Browns have a lot of fantasy pieces that are very viable, and it's a weird situation where you're talking about Cleveland Browns and good fantasy options. Not this year, but last year, Baker Mayfield was being talked about as, basically what Kyler Murray is being talked about now. Yeah. And Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb, Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham, Austin Hooper, these are all guys that preseason were all guys that were being talked about. So, I mean, it's not the Jets. It's not guys that you want absolutely no part of. Like, if you can have multiple players, multiple Browns on your roster and be somewhat comfortable with it. In our Sideline Squib League, I made a trade earlier this year, and it has since bit me in the butt. But I traded away DK Metcalf and David Johnson, and in return, I got Nick Chubb and Odell Beckham. And I got bit by the injuries because of both Chubb and Beckham, and Metcalf is turned into an absolute dominant receiver. By the way, before we get into into tonight's DFS stuff, DK Metcalf running down Buda Baker is one of the craziest things I've ever seen in a football game.
Did you see that Buda Baker was mic'd up for that play? And after he gets tackled, he's like, how in the F did this guy catch me? Like,
dude, Buda Baker was a 2-time 100 meter and 200 meter
state champ
winner. Yeah, he was a state champ in how fast he was. And he got, dude, DK Metcalf was 15 yards behind him, and Buda Baker was running with a full head of steam. And he was still able not only to catch up to him, but like basically get in front of him to tackle him.
Yeah, the guy's an absolute freak.
That dude's a freak. And we're going to get into the Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf thing going on in the receiver. So I'll put that on hold because I have a strong opinion on everything that went down.
By the way, I got to say something about DK Metcalf, who again has turned into, as you said, just an absolute monster. I mean, physically, just everyone knows he's a freak, but turned into a top, possibly 2 or 3 receiver in this league. I got to call him out a little bit because, every week for the paying guys on the website, we post our optimal lineups, right? And the lineup that I posted, just like the week before, you play my lineup, you're making money. I mean, it's not always millions. You're not winning the million maker, but you play my lineup, you're winning money. And that included this past week, where I think my lineup that I submitted got about 175 points. Now, it's getting harder. It's getting harder to win in DFS. I think you probably noticed that, Abe. I think a lot of people probably noticed that. People are reading up. People are doing their research. People are
you used to be able, if you put up 100 points, you were making money.
Yeah, and you put up 150 points on DraftKings. You went 3x on your money. You turned that 50. You turned that your $50,000 budget into 150 points. I mean, that was cashing. Now I saw in some of the big tournaments, the pay line was 168. That's wild to have to score 168 points just to get $1 back on your $5 investment or whatever it is. But this last week again gave everyone a pretty good lineup. Still cashed at about 175, not a ton because of how it's getting harder. The one thing that screwed me on my lineup, you never would have thought, DK Metcalf. Everybody else, I turn on, I got the little fire symbol next to each guy on my app. Who's got the snowflake? DK. If DK would have put up points, if I would have played Tyler Lockett instead, people would have been calling me, thanking me for making their next mortgage payment.
Yeah. All right. Let's get into our DFS stuff because I do want to bring up. I do want to discuss the Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf. What happened last week? What you can look forward to going forward, because I got some opinions on it. So let's get into the quarterback position. I should probably have this stuff pulled up. This is the joys of being live. And as you listen to the show that's already recorded, I'm not going to edit this little part out because you should have listened to us. You should have listened to us live. Screw you. All right. So at the quarterback position, if I could pull it up. God damn. All right. Your top quarterbacks: Patrick Mahomes, $8,100 against the worst team humanly possible in the New York Jets, followed by Russell Wilson at $7,800, Aaron Rodgers, my guy, my MVP at $76, and Lamar Jackson at $74. Josh, where are the guys you're going with? Where are the top guys that you're going with at quarterback position?
So I'll tell you, you could go Mahomes this week, and again, we talked about how you need at least 3x on anyone you're playing. Patrick Mahomes could easily have 40 points against the Jets. The problem is that it's probably going to be by halftime, 28-0, 28-3. And I just don't see it being that much of a Mahomes game. So that's a lot of money going into for a player that might not get that much usage. The guy that I like most this week, I'm going down a little bit. Give me Ryan Tannehill. I mean, Ryan Tannehill is just having himself yet again for the Titans. Just an amazing season. Went up against Pittsburgh last week and didn't have a world-class game, but nobody plays well against Pittsburgh, and he goes out there and throws for 220 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions against one of the top defenses in the league. Now he gets this little cupcake against Cincinnati, I expect him to just be lighting it up all over the place. I'm stacking him with AJ Brown whenever I can because I think AJ Brown's going to have a big game, and I really think Tannehill's going to eat against Cincinnati. He's one quarterback that I really like this week, and then in that same game, I like Joe Burrow. Tennessee's defense, as we've said, a couple times, is not the Tennessee's defense of last year or the year before that. They give up big plays. They don't really defend the pass that well. And being that I think they're going to be scoring like crazy against Cincinnati, it's going to be a Joe Burrow game. Joe Burrow is going to be tossing it all over the field. And for $6,200 against a lower end defense like Cincinnati, I like Joe Burrow a lot as well.
Yeah. So my guy this week, my two guys that I really love are Aaron Rodgers at the high end. Even at 7,600, even being the third highest price guy, Minnesota's defense is absolute trash. Justin Herbert, I kind of touched on him a little bit last week. The kid I think he was a quarterback one over the entirety of the season. But my low price guy that I want to stick with is Derek Carr. Vegas Raiders playing in Cleveland. The Browns' defense is atrocious. They can't stop anybody. And at $5,500, I can use all that extra money to go play somebody else. I can go spend up at running back and at receiver because I'm playing so low at the quarterback position. The guys I want to stay away from, Patrick Mahomes, I agree with you. I think they're going to be up early in that game. You're not going to see much of Mahomes in the second half. He's going to, and even if he is out there, it's mostly going to be handing off the ball. And I think it's going to be a lot to Le'Veon Bell. It's not so much a revenge game. He wasn't really with the Jets for too long. But I know he hates Adam Gase. He's going to go off on Adam Gase this week. I just know it. The other guy, Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson's the 12th best quarterback fantasy-wise this year. Everyone pays that super high price in the draft for him, and he really hasn't been very productive. This week, going up against Pittsburgh, no chance am I touching Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, the guy that I'm staying away from, and this might not really shock anybody here. I think people are going to go down the list. They're going to say, okay, I don't want to pay up for any of the high-priced guys. Let me go down and see who to play. Oh, I see. San Francisco's playing Seattle. Jimmy Garoppolo playing literally the worst defense against the quarterback, fantasy-wise, which is weird to say because, I mean, we all grew up a Legion of Boom. We know what the Seattle defense has been in the past. I think people get excited when they see anybody playing Seattle. But I got to tell you, Jimmy Garoppolo is bad. He is trash. He is garbage. And the fact that he's playing Seattle, I have a feeling Seattle has his number. Seattle, I mean, the past couple of years, Seattle's done a real good job game planning against Garoppolo. And I actually have a feeling that people might play Garoppolo. I have a feeling Garoppolo's not going to finish this game. After the stinker he put up last week, and we don't even have to talk about, 3 weeks ago against Miami when he got benched.
That was bad. That's real bad.
It was bad. But the 9.48 points he put up against the Patriots, who aren't that good of a defense this year. They're certainly not. I mean, they're not bad, but they're not what they were last year. And you would have thought that he could maybe do something against his old team. He was trash. If he comes out and he does not play well right out the gate against Seattle, if he turns it over, you're going to see some CJ Beathard, and I have a feeling that might happen this game. Stay away from Garoppolo. It doesn't matter how low price he is. It doesn't matter he's playing Seattle.
All right, let's go over to the running back position. Alvin Kamara, most high-priced guy, followed by Derrick Henry and Dalvin Cook, and Aaron Jones and Kareem Hunt. Josh, let me hear it. Where are you going with it?
I said it before when we were talking about Mahomes. Give me CEH in this game. I think this is a Clyde Edwards-Helaire game. I think this is a ground-and-pound game from about midway through the second quarter on. 2 weeks ago against Buffalo, he played the game of his career knowing that Le'Veon Bell was kind of chomping at the bit to take over at the position, and I think he showed what he could do. And last week, they didn't need him that much, but still averaged 5.8 yards a carry, had the touchdown. had the nice long catch for 17 yards as well. The guy's still playing lights out, and I think there's going to be a heavy dose of run in this game. I think your money is very well spent on CEH going against a Denver, a Jets run defense that this might shock you, Abe. They are fourth worst against the running back in fantasy, and I don't want to kind of shock your conscience here when I tell you that that the Jets don't have really good defense, but I think CEH is going to eat. The other guys that I like here, I like Darrell Henderson. Same thing. I think that his usage has been really people kind of talk about a three-headed monster. It's not really a three-headed monster anymore. It's pretty much Darrell Henderson getting the majority of the
if he can stay healthy.
Yeah, if he can stay healthy, but right now he is getting a majority of the play. Miami is not good at stopping the run. Not good at giving. They also give up a lot of passes to the running back. Darrell Henderson, nicely priced. I like him as well, $5,900. And then if Mixon is not playing, I know Mixon did not practice today. Gio kind of showed us what he can do when he gets the full run. The important thing with Gio, besides his marvelous mustache, which I don't know if anyone has seen, but if not, go and Google.
I love that mustache. His DraftKings mustache it looks fake.
It looks fake. He looks like a sheriff from like an old Western movie or something, doesn't he? I love it. Or maybe a character from like Super Troopers. But
yes, that's what it is.
Yeah, had 5 targets last week, 5 catches for 60 yards and a touchdown. He's not going to really do much on the ground, but through the airs where it's going to happen, and they're going to be down to Tennessee. Tennessee's going to put a lot of points against them. They'll be throwing the ball a lot. He was a nice little safety blanket for my guy Joe Cool last week, and if he is starting, Gio very nicely priced as a starting running back at $1,500.
So there's one guy on this list, and he's pretty low, that I just can't understand why he's priced so low, and that's Myles Gaskin at $5,200 against a Rams defense that, frankly, outside of Aaron Donald, can't stop the run, and outside of Jalen Ramsey, can't stop the pass. So he's priced at $5,200. He is their number one back. There's nobody else. They don't trust Matt Breida. Jordan Howard gets a touch every now and then, and I was wrong. I thought Jordan Howard was going to be Myles Gaskin this year. But Myles Gaskin is priced behind not only Austin Eckler, who's out, but Jerick McKinnon, who's done nothing, Gio Bernard, who, yes, if Joe Mixon doesn't play, Bernard is a strong start, but they're going up against a good Tennessee defense. Behind David Montgomery, who did nothing, behind Jeff Wilson, who's out, behind Alexander Madison, who's now, again, the number 2 in Minnesota with Dalvin Cook coming back. I just can't understand why there's no love for Myles Gaskin this week. Can you explain that? The dude's been balling.
Myles Gaskin has really, talk about it. I had no idea who Myles Gaskin was going into the year.
No, I've never heard of the guy before.
Yeah, like you said, he's what is he? I think he has literally one game under 10 points.
And it was 9.2.
It was 9.2, and he played. I think some of it might just be a stacking of the box type situation against a guy playing his first game. Tua. I don't think it might not be that worried about Tua, but again, that's I don't know. I don't know why he would be so low. He certainly performs well, and like you said, Aaron Donald is great, but that defense overall has not been against a running back great at all. So I think that's a good play for sure.
Yeah, I also really like Jonathan Taylor this week, where he's $6,600. The Lions defense is not very good, even though they traded for Everson Griffin, who probably won't even play this week. Their run defense is not very good.
Let's talk about Everson Griffin for a second. Remember last year when he almost murdered his wife or something, and he was in a mental hospital, and he was telling everybody he was going to. Do you not remember that?
Are you sure?
Everson Griffin was like it was like a standoff with police. You see, you don't even remember. That was going to be my point. Everyone just forgets that this guy was crazy because he was good at football once. He There's just no talk about it. And I'm telling you, look it up. Look it up.
Great. And now he's going to be in Detroit, and I'm going to have to deal with him.
Exactly. He's going to be your next case.
This season.
See, this is the part about going live. I'm trying to read an article about it while we're doing this, and of course, CBS.com has their show on in the background while it's going.
I'm going to read the Wikipedia on it. Griffin and his wife Tiffany have 3 sons. Yada yada yada. On Thursday, September 20th, 2018, Griffin and his agent were sent a letter from the so Vikings stating that he would not be allowed back with the team until he underwent a mental health evaluation. 2 days later, on Saturday, September 22nd, Griffin was involved in an incident at a hotel where he had allegedly threatened to shoot someone because he was not allowed in his room.
Well, that's not very nice.
In 2018, it was revealed that Griffin was taken to the hospital for mental health evaluation. But hey, let's sign him.
Right? Hey, Detroit for a long time has been we don't take the bad guys. And now you finally get a bad boy, quote unquote, and you're like, I don't even want this guy. He sucks.
Yeah. Would it be 40 now?
He's got to be. He's closer to 40 than I am, I'm sure.
He's 32. Okay, so you know when you feel old.
That's closer than I am, buddy.
And they're younger than us.
Yep. You're closer to dying than I am, and that has nothing to do with CTE. Yeah, but like I was saying, I do like Jonathan Taylor a lot this week. I think that they're starting to really show that even though we all know he's the number one guy, the coaching staff there is really starting to show that he's the number one guy, that they rely on him. This Naheem Hines and Jonathan Wilkins stuff. They know to get to the playoffs, they're going to have to rely on Jonathan Taylor. So maybe you rest him a little bit early on, but as the season moves forward, they're going to continue to rely on Taylor, and I think this week he takes a big step. James Conner is a guy I'm staying very, very, very far away from playing in Baltimore. I want almost no pieces of this Baltimore-Pittsburgh game. I think it's going to be a very classic Steelers-Ravens defensive battle, where the final score is going to be like 7-6 or something like that. I want no part of this game whatsoever. And the last place I want to stay away from is the San Francisco backfield. Even though they're great, they're great. I played Jerick McKinnon last week, and I got nothing because it was a Jeff Wilson week. Obviously, Jeff Wilson is out. Raheem Mostert is out. But is it going to be JaMychal Hasty? Is it going to be Jerick McKinnon? Is Tevin Coleman coming back? Like, I don't know which one of these guys, and none of their prices are guys that I'm willing to take the risk. McKinnon at $5,700 is not a guy that I'm willing to take that risk on because it's just too much when I can get a DeAndre Swift, even though I wouldn't play him because he's playing Indianapolis. But you can get better players. JaMychal Hasty, $5,000. Yeah, I guess you can take a flyer on that, but there's other guys that I rather would. One guy from this game, though, that I would be very interested in is DJ Dallas, because I think there's a very good chance that Chris Carson and Carlos Hyde do not play this week, and Travis Homer is out, and I think DJ Dallas is going to be really the only healthy running back on this team for this week at a minimum. And even though Russell Wilson's been dynamic and the MVP so far, DJ Dallas is still going to get his touches. They're still going to run the ball 12 to 15 times, whatever it is. And DJ Dallas is going to get a majority of those touches. So at $4,000, the quantity of work he's going to get is going to be greater than the value of the price that you're going to be paying for him.
And DJ Dallas is a guy that they kind of been raving about, and all season long. Playing behind Chris Carson, there's not much opportunity, but now's his chance, so let's see. But by the way, speaking of that game, can we kind of do our this week in what the hell is that pricing on DraftKings edition? And if you look at the number 9 and number 10 price running backs, Nick Chubb and Raheem Mostert, both on the IR.
Yeah,
so, again, this is this week's version of what the hell is with that pricing.
Right. And the only reason Chris McCaffrey isn't at the top of this list is because he's playing Thursday night.
Like Thursday, right? Otherwise, he'd still be number 1.
Don't get confused and think DraftKings listens to us, because I know that they don't.
By the way, even Jeff Wilson,
Yeah.
Look,
all you need apparently is one really good game and then get hurt, and then you can be higher priced than David Montgomery, who's the only healthy running back for the Bears.
Yep.
Even though he sucks, but he's their only healthy running back. Unbelievable. Let's go over to the wide receiver position. Devontae Adams, who murdered me in a couple of leagues last week at $8,800. You can see there's such a difference because Devontae Adams is the number one at 8,800. DK Metcalf is second at 7,500. There's a $1,300 difference right there. Followed by Michael Thomas at 73, Adam Thielen at 72, and Tyler Lockett at 71. Now, before you go into your receiver stuff, let me give you my DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett thoughts. The Arizona Cardinals have one good cornerback, an elite cornerback in Patrick Peterson. Even though he's getting up there in age a little bit, he's still an elite cornerback. And they went into that game not saying you take the right side of the field, you take the left side of the field. They said wherever DK Metcalf goes, that's where you go. That's circa 09 to 2010, Darrelle Revis, when he was the best corner in football by a long shot. It wasn't, this is the side of the field you take like Richard Sherman does. It was, you take this player. In this case, you get on 14, Patrick. You get on DK Metcalf. And wherever he goes, you stick to him like gum. And we'll figure Tyler Lockett out. Because they knew that DK Metcalf is the flavor of the week for Russell Wilson. And he's a flavor of the week for the entire NFL, frankly. Stick with him. Don't let him beat us. And Russell Wilson realized that immediately and gave Tyler Lockett, what was it, 20 targets? He had 15 catches on 20 targets for 203 scores, like, which is just even when, I mean, that's just crazy. But I can't see that going forward on a week in and week out basis where Tyler Lockett is going to get that immense amount of target share. DK Metcalf is going to get a lot more. And even when you have situations when they play, they'll play the Rams a couple times being in that division. They'll play the Cardinals again. Patrick Peterson is probably going to be on DK again. Jalen Ramsey is probably going to be on DK those weeks. But this week against San Francisco, Richard Sherman is out. They're play a lot more zone coverage in San Francisco. I don't see a reason why Tyler Lockett is going to be that same super high-end guy that we saw last week. And I fully expect DK to be more of a high-end guy than Tyler this week and going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I would say both, they average, and this is not looking at the exact numbers, but they average outside. You can't, the 20 targets is an outlier, right? I mean, you can never rely on that. You're looking at anywhere on average between 6 and 10 targets for each of them in a game, and it kind of varies as to who they're playing, what the situation is. Mostly DK has been able to do more with those targets, be a little bit more of a big play guy, and obviously getting targeted a little bit more than Lockett. But it's an any given week thing. And yeah, you're right. The game script was as such. Now it's funny because Patrick Peterson has for the last 6 years been one of the top corners in the league. He has taken a significant step back, but it's funny to kind of see how the old vet in the pro, there's more than just physical ability to this game. And the way he pressed and the way that he kind of got underneath DK's skin a little bit really took DK out to the tune of Tyler Lockett getting 4 times as many targets as him. It's 5 to 20. But overall, I think even against top defenses, DK is still going to be able to shine. If you kind of go down the line here, but not only Arizona, but Minnesota, Miami, Dallas, they all actually they don't have good defenses, but they do have top flight corners on those teams. New England, he went up against quite possibly the best cover corner in the league and still had 20 points that game. So generally, DK is going to be able to overcome that. And if you're talking about who the better play is, it's generally going to be DK over Lockett, with on any given week a blow-up game from Lockett like that. So I do agree with you.
All right, so let's get back into our defense stuff. That's my DK Tyler situation that we've had. Where are you? First of all, are you playing either of these guys in DFS this week? Are there guys that you can rely on? And where else are you going?
For all I had to say about DK in the beginning of the show,
I'm out.
Go to that well on DK, and I'm going to tell you why. Because I think a lot of people are going to look at that as a second highest priced guy for a guy that just crapped the bed last week. Yeah, you know what? If I'm playing the Millie Maker, which by the way, I'm not exactly sure the exact theory on how or why DraftKings does their tournament pricing, but the Millie Maker is only $10 this week, as opposed to the 20 this week to get into the Millie Maker. It's only 10 this week. So you're playing the Millie Maker. We talked about not only having to get the performance out of players, but you need to kind of be a little bit contrarian because you need to be able to separate yourself with your plays as well. Well, again, DK crapped the bed last week, second highest priced receiver this week. I think a lot of people are going to be staying away from him. And we just talked about how DK eats against pretty much everyone. Richard Sherman's out. They still have a decent secondary even without Sherman there. But the bottom line is their number one corner is not there. And Russell Wilson throws on everybody, and DK pretty much plays well against everybody. So he's kind of high priced, but I'll have him in a couple lineups for sure, just to kind of go that contrarian route because I bet you his ownership is low. The guy that I love, talked about it earlier also, AJ Brown. Give me AJ Brown all day in this game.
That guy scores so much. He goes from 0 to 100 points like that.
Also, okay, so right, he was hurt for a couple weeks. He played week 1, but got hurt week 1. Didn't play again until week 5. Well, since week 5, last 3 games, 21.2 points his first game back, 22.8 points his second game back, and a nice 30-pointer against Pittsburgh defense last week. All this guy does is score. All this guy does is play. Him and Tannehill just have an amazing connection, and they are going to connect, early and often against that Cincinnati defense. So I mean, if you don't have AJ Brown in your lineup this week, you're not making the right lineup. And then assuming he's healthy, and there's no reason to think he's not going to be because he came back last week. Keenan Allen he just keeps. I don't understand.
I love Keenan Allen.
I'll tell you, I was not a Keenan Allen guy this year at all. And really, I thinking about what it was going to be like with Herbert. Herbert, who has been very accurate and played really well and really immaculate in how he's kind of been picking apart defenses this year. The knock on Herbert was he's got all the talent. He's got a huge arm. He cannot. I mean, like some of these college throws he made, where there'd be a guy just standing wide open in the middle of the field with maybe not a defender within 10 yards of him, and he's just thrown the most ridiculous interceptions. Herbert was, and so I was actually really worried about Keenan Allen this year, considering it wasn't Herbert's strength to throw into those tight windows that Keenan Allen kind of has thrived in throughout his career. Well, we all know what's going on this year, which is Herbert's been playing out of his mind, and Keenan Allen has been playing out of his mind, and he just doesn't stop. When Keenan Allen is healthy, he produces in this offense. He is going to produce this week as well. I would assume against a Denver team that is not that good. This is going to be a throwing game in which Keenan Allen is the number one receiver on that team. Like you said, Herbert coming off, the game of his very short career, but nonetheless a hell of a game. I expect him to build off of that as well.
I mean, the dude's getting 50% target share. Keenan Allen is almost, he's a must start in redraft, dynasty, DFS. The amount of points he gets just for his target and his receptions, it's crazy. Because sometimes, oh man, the PPR perspective from Keenan Allen, I don't know how you don't play him, and I honestly don't know why he's ranked so low in these prices.
I don't get it.
It's crazy. Now I know early in his career,
just to jump in real quick, his salary last week is the same as it is this week. Now again, I understand DraftKings is not that reactive to game scripts and to previous games. I mean, hell, they haven't even realized yet that Christian McCaffrey hasn't played since week 2. But
what?
But the bottom line is, he was 6,200 last week, put up 25 points, and it's still the same price this week. Get him in your lineup. He's that cheap.
You know what I love most about Keenan Allen, though? It's not just that he gets all these targets. I mean, obviously, I love that, and the targets equal reception, the receptions equal yards and touchdowns. But it's that he's getting 13 targets and having 11 catches off of those. DeAndre Hopkins a couple weeks ago had 9 targets, which is awesome, but he only had 2 catches.
Right.
So Keenan Allen is turning all these targets into catches, and give a lot of credit in the world to Keenan Allen. Give all the credit in the world to Justin Herbert and to the coaching staff, making sure that they know that this is the guy to go for. My sneaky play of the week. This plays. Come on.
Wow. You kind of just snuck up on me there, man. I fear you're underestimating the sneakiness, sir.
My sneaky play of the week, Hunter Renfrow, that of the Vegas Raiders against Cleveland. Again, I talked about Derek Carr and how Cleveland can't stop anybody. Hunter Renfrow at $3,800 is a steal. He's a PPR machine. I know he hasn't had a great season so far, minus week 3 against New England where we went for 20 points. He's incredibly consistent though, and I really think that in a week against the Browns, they're going to pass the ball a lot. I think it's going to be a high scoring game between these two bad defenses, where they're just scoring and scoring and scoring and scoring and scoring. Where I don't see a big game out of Josh Jacobs from the running game perspective. I don't know if they're going to get him involved with the passing game. I see a big game from Darren Waller and from Hunter Renfrow this week.
Yeah, and then one other really cheap guy I want to talk about because I just think
because you're Jewish and you like cheap things.
Exactly, and I like cheap things. I like cheap things that are valuable. T. Higgins. I mean, week 1 he was dressed, I believe. Just didn't see the field. 0 targets. Week 2, a little bit more. Since week 3 on, the guy hasn't not scored double digits. Only 2 of the last 5 games did he have less than 18 points. I mean, the guy this guy honestly looks like one of the, quite possibly the most promising receiver in the draft class, and that includes guys when you're looking at CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs, Denzel Mims,
Justin Jefferson, who's
amazing. Brandon Ayuk is playing out of his mind. He's a guy that I also really like this week and going forward.
Jalen Reagor, dude, this is a deep. Not every year, but going into
Chase Claypool.
They talk about how deep of a wide receiver class this year was, and every year there's always a position that's deep.
Yeah.
Next year's receiver class is going to be deep also with guys like Jamar Chase
and both guys at Alabama.
Bateman from Minnesota, and the Alabama guys, Waddle, who got hurt, and Smith, who might have been the best player on that team last year, while Waddle, Ruggs, and Jeudy were there. Right. So the receiver class is deep, but this year the only guy like off the top of my head that I can think of that really hasn't produced is Van Jefferson. Like, who else has really disappointed you? Denzel Mims and Michael Pittman, they've both been hurt, but and Reagor's been hurt, but everybody's really been like above expectation.
Right. Everyone was like, any of these guys could do it. They've all done it. I can't remember a draft class where you've gotten so much production. And the thing about Higgins is, I don't know that Higgins, and I could, maybe next year, or as he progresses, he could prove me wrong. I don't know that Higgins has the ceiling that Jeudy has, or that Ruggs has, or that Jefferson has. But I will tell you, week in and week out, this guy plays and plays well, and his floor. And really, because when you're talking about fantasy, especially season long, but even DFS, you're looking for a certain floor as well. You're looking for guys to have to produce at a minimum certain level, and that's all this guy does, just every week. So kudos to him, and love that connection with him and Burrow. And when they made that pick, I got to say the draft, I was like, a little bit of a stretch. I don't love it. I talked to you before about the separation problems I saw with T. Higgins in college, and thought he was more of a system guy. Well, if he's a system guy, the system is working in Cincinnati because this guy balls out.
Yeah, maybe he made Trevor Lawrence look so good.
Right.
And the ghost of T. Higgins lives on this year, and that's why Trevor Lawrence looks incredible again this year. Let's go to the tight end position and wrap this up, because I do have a trade that was brought to me this week that I want to ask you about as well. Tight end position, no surprise here. George Kittle, Travis Kelce, the 1 and 2, Mark Andrews, who might be the only guy from this Baltimore-Pittsburgh game that you're willing to play. He's ranked third at $5,800. And then it goes, the Darren Wallers and TJ Hawkinsons of the world, and then my guys, the Mike Gesicki's. Where are you going with this week, Josh?
I mean, I think Darren Waller priced at 5,600. Darren Waller continues to sort of be that guy that people forget about. Last 3 games for Darren Waller, 17 points, 15.8 points, 16.8 points. Obviously, we all remember the Monday night game where he put up a 30 spot on New Orleans. But then he produces like a high end wide receiver too, and because there's a TE next to his name, he's priced at $5,600. I mean, if you go, and again, just to compare, if you went to the wide receivers and looked at who's priced at $5,600 there, would you rather? I mean, T Higgins is there, we like that, but would you rather have Devontae Parker, or would you rather have Darren Waller? Would you rather have Jarvis Landry or Darren Waller? Would you rather have Juju or Darren Waller? And then again, do it kind of with the running backs. Would you rather have he's priced the same as Melvin Gordon? He's priced below Jerick McKinnon. Who would you rather have, Darren Waller or Jerick McKinnon? He gets no respect.
And there's nothing wrong with playing a double flex.
Yeah, no, I'm flexing him, like I said, in a couple lineups because he's just priced so low, and the guy produces week in, week out. He is the number one option on that offense. He's not the most explosive. My boy Henry Ruggs is, but he's far, 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 far and away the most consistent player on that offense, even over your boy Jacobs, who's kind of disappointing lately.
He's scored a lot of touchdowns so far, but he hasn't looked the part. He's my ride or die, but I've been dying.
Yeah, so Darren Waller, I love him, and then Jimmy Graham against New Orleans. New Orleans
revenge game. Jimmy Graham
revenge game. New Orleans giving up the third most points to the tight end position, and it's a weird offense over there in Chicago, but he's getting targets. I mean, he week 2 against the Giants, when I believe he got hurt that game, he only had 1 target. But outside of that game, I mean, he hasn't had less than 5 targets in a game. Last week, 6 targets against the Rams. Week before that, 8 targets against Carolina. They throw to him. It's pretty much Allen Robinson and Jimmy Graham in terms of targets. Targets in that offense. And
Allen Robinson is questionable with the concussion.
Right, Allen Robinson is questionable. Miller, man, I thought Miller was going to be something this year. I have him in a lot of redraft leagues.
I was not buying in on the end.
Yeah, I was buying in, and he is just crap the bed. What else is there? I mean,
Mooney's look good. Mooney looks like he
looked okay, and Montgomery's getting about 4 targets a game. The targets have to go somewhere, and they've been going to Jimmy Graham. I expect them to continue to go to Jimmy Graham. So I like Jimmy Graham kind of nicely priced there at $4,600.
So let me tell you my tight end. Now I have him. Okay, here we go. The tight end I like this week is Gerald Everett, $3,700.
You've been waiting for it to be a Gerald Everett.
I have been, and you know what? Tyler Higbee's outside of that one good game, one great game. I got you. One great game. He's been an absolute total bust. He's been god awful. Tyler Higbee. He's been doing what three catches a week. Like that's the guy that you think is going to be like a tight end 5. No, I'm out on that.
And by the way, his 3 touchdown game was a 5 catch game. 3 of his 2 5 catches.
Right. He's not some target monster. Right. He's not getting a whole lot of work done. I get it, 3 catches for 3 touchdowns, great, but he's not getting 11 catches. So at the tight end position, I'm looking even lower than him. He's being dropped in a lot of redraft leagues right now, and I'm completely on board with that. And he was not my do not draft list from day one. But Gerald Everett, he's been getting more of the target share recently. He put up 4 for 28 in the score last week against the Bears. I think this week against Miami, Gerald Everett again becomes the number 1 tight end target, and specifically the red zone target, because Robert Woods doesn't get touchdowns. He doesn't score touchdowns. He's a middle of the field guy. Cooper Kupp's touchdowns, I mean, we saw it in the Dallas game. Apparently he can't catch the ball once he's in the end zone. He has to catch slants from the 50 and take it to the house. He can't catch it once he's already there. I think Gerald Everett's going to be the goal line guy for Jared Goff going not only this week but going forward. And at $3,700, I'm eating that. I'm eating that all day.
Yeah, and look, I didn't draft a lot of Higbee, but I certainly.
You were on the Higbee train.
I was on the Higbee train. I really focused on those last 5 games. I got to tell you, I mean, the usage is starting to get there for Gerald Everett. I mean, obviously Higbee didn't play last game, but the week before that, I think him and Everett kind of were equal on targets. But the game before that, both healthy. I think Everett actually doubled him up on targets, and it wasn't that many. I think it was like 2 to 4 or something, pretty minimal like that. I don't think either one is producing. There were 2 camps. There was Gerald Everett camp, and there was the Gerald Everett camp, and there was the Higbee camp. I think both camps are closed because of COVID. But I mean, just I don't think either one has really done what any of the truthers had expected. But certainly, Higbee is not what a lot of us in the industry expect him to be.
Let me bring this trade to you that was offered to me, and I'll let you know after you give your opinion on whether or not the trade was accepted. This is a dynasty league trade.
So not the Squib League. Not the
Squib League. This is a separate league, a dynasty league trade that I'm pulling up the exact pieces to it now. On one side of the trade was Juju and Gio Bernard. The other side of the trade was Christian Kirk and Joshua Kelly. After you give your opinion, I'll tell you which side of the trade I'm on.
Okay. I'm going to go Christian Kirk and Joshua Kelly is the team that received the winning team. If nothing else, because it's dynasty. Joshua Kelly's a rookie. Showed a little bit of promise and kind of faded off, but a rookie running back with a pretty high ceiling and dynasty is pretty valuable. And Christian Kirk certainly starting to come into his own. What he had 2 touchdowns last week, I believe, right? The 2 touchdowns last week.
Yep, and that 80-yard touchdown.
Right, and then the week before had also a really nice game. I think Christian Kirk is starting to become something in this offense, and as the years go on, and he gets a little bit more of a rapport with Kyler Murray. Obviously, Larry Fitzgerald isn't going to be around much longer. Nuck is going to be around for a little bit longer, but he ain't getting any younger either. I think Christian Kirk will be a vital part of that offense. So I think I'm going to go with that team as the winner.
So I'm on the Juju side. I picked up Juju. And here's what my thought process came down to. Who would you rather have, Juju or Christian Kirk for Dynasty? And to me, it was simple, and it was Juju. Because I think despite the fact that he's not having a great year now, he's had a couple splashes. We all know the talent's all there. And he might not be in Pittsburgh next year. We don't really know where he's going to be. But I know that Christian Kirk, and I love Christian Kirk. I know that he's at best going to be the number 2 option behind DeAndre Hopkins. That's his best case scenario, where Juju has a legitimate option to be the number 1 guy. When it comes down to the running backs in the trade, Joshua Kelly, to me, I have Austin Eckler on this team. Joshua Kelly, to me, is the guy that's almost unstartable. I'm deep at the position. I have Eckler, I have Dalvin Cook, I have Chris Carson. So I have some depth there at the position from a starter's perspective. Gio Bernard was a throw-in. It's hey, if Joe Mixon isn't healthy, I have a guy I can start as well if need be. But to me, Joshua Kelly, he peaked like week 1, and then everything's been downhill since then. He has not looked good, and he's had a severe fumbling issue over the course of his young career.
So the only thing that I would say on that is, and look, I agree, Joshua Kelly, I don't think is going to be a Pro Bowler anytime soon. Is just considering the age difference between Kelly and Gio. Obviously, at this point, if I need to win a game tomorrow, we talked about it. Gio was a guy that I said you should put into your lineups. I'm not recommending that for Joshua Kelly. The one thing I got to say is I do disagree pretty vehemently that Juju's ceiling is the number one. I think that's those days are gone. I think Deontay Johnson is the number one on that team. I mean, you look and say, look, Juju
might not be there next year. Well, okay.
Yeah, Juju might not be there next year.
Juju, and maybe this is my Jets homerism in me. What if Juju goes to the Jets and is Trevor Lawrence's number one target?
I think if Juju goes to the Jets, here's the thing about Juju. Juju is really good, but when did Juju thrive? We all know when Juju thrived. When AB was there. When AB was there, he'd take away a lot of the tension from underneath, and was always getting the number one receiver treatment. Juju thrived. Last year, when Juju got the number one receiver treatment, granted he was playing with high school quarterbacks, but when Juju got the number one treatment,
you can't count last year.
Right.
He was injured. He didn't have a quarterback. You can't really count. Now this year you can look at him more. Okay, forget about. But
even this year, when did Juju have his arguably best game of the season? Was this last week, right? He had 14 targets. He was peppered all game. But it's also when Deontay Johnson got 15 targets and was getting the attention of the number one receiver.
I'd say week one when he went for 6 for 69 and 2. That was a pretty good game.
That was a good game, but again, not counting just the touchdowns, right. The 14 targets was he thrived. Now, again, that's where Juju thrives. If he does go to the Jets, he might thrive if he becomes Jamison Crowder 2.0, the better, more talented version, and we know what Jamison Crowder's doing this year, then yeah, he could really thrive, especially if Denzel Mims becomes a really strong outside presence, which you and I both think he will. So he could certainly thrive. He might do really well, in a different team. It's a crowded. It's a weird situation there with the receivers. You have Claypool, who 1 week has a 40-point game, the last week as well, outperforms everybody. This week, when everyone's healthy, Deontay Johnson with 15 targets, Juju with 14. I think Claypool had one catch for one target from -2 yards or something.
Yep.
I mean, and next week it could be the exact opposite, right? Claypool could have the big game, and it could be Deontay Johnson who sees 2 targets or has one catch. But I do agree with you that I think Juju has a lot of promise still. I will tell you that in a dynasty league that I'm in, I traded away Juju this week. My team, I hit the injury bug pretty hard.
Everybody did. 2020.
Everybody did. But I had Dak as my quarterback. I think I'm out of the playoffs, so I traded away Tom Brady and Juju for a first-round pick and 2 second-round picks. Just essentially starting the rebuild. And again, I didn't care about trading Tom Brady, who is the number 6 quarterback in fantasy, and I actually think the number 6 overall player in fantasy. The thing that was hard for me to do was trade Juju, because Juju does have all that promise. Juju,
I mean, he's still young.
He's still young. He might be on another team next year, and we all know in the right system, the right situation, Juju is even if he might be the second wide receiver on a team, fantasy-wise, he's a wide receiver 1.
Yep. All right, well, that's going to do for tonight's show. Again, go to TrophySmack.com. Use the promo code SQUIB. Get your free ring with your championship belt. Go to SidelineSquib.com/shop. Get us all that swag. Look at that. Look how sweet that shirt is.
Come on, guys. You want one of these guys. How
can you not want that shirt? The Sideline Squib softball team won a championship this week.
Oh, did you guys win?
Yeah, we won it. We won the ship. So nice. We've been drinking ever since. So that is all that we have time for tonight. And with that, the courtroom is now closed.